evening, everyone. Welcome. I must have touched a nerve here with the subject. It's one of my biggest turnouts for open forum yet. Thank you all for giving up this lovely, beautiful evening to be in here and have this chat about sleep. My name's Dr. Hunter Peterson. I'm the clinic director of Coeur Healing Arts. I'm a naturopathic physician, and our practice is right in downtown Coeur d'Alene. And a little bit of information about our practice in the back, and if you want to learn more about kind of what we do, please sign up for our email list. We'll tell you about more events like this, and we will give you access to our website that has lots of resources on it. So this event is called Open Forum, and it's a monthly gathering that we do for the community here. And the basic premise of this is it's an opportunity for us to dialogue about health. We don't have to have a topic. I come prepared with a specific topic to lecture about, but it's really an opportunity that I want to have to really dialogue with you guys. I don't have a PowerPoint here. I don't have a quote-unquote lecture prepared, so I really want this to be kind of conversation. Raise your hand in the middle of something if you want to bounce something back or have a response. And usually what I'll do before we even get into the topic is allocate a little time to review any questions health related that we want people are interested in covering. So then after we cover all of that stuff, we'll kind of dive into this topic of sleep science. So I'll kind of open up the floor and just give me some hands in terms of topics that people are interested in learning more about or asking me directly. Yeah.
When you talk about the sleep stuff a little later, that's where it affects me the most. Restless leg.
Restless legs? Yeah.
That's one of my major issues with lack of sleep.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah.
Autoimmune and leaky gut.
Autoimmune and leaky gut. Okay. Is there more of a detailed question behind that, or just the relationship between the two?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or both separately?
And you could do rheumatoid arthritis also while you're at it.
Well,
Be here for a month.
Well, that RA is an autoimmune disease, so we can associate that. Yeah.
Fibromyalgia, the pain
Yeah.
is what makes me not sleep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Sleep apnea.
Sleep apnea. Okay. Okay.
Toxicity in relation to weight gain.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
Arachidonic acid.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember. I haven't had time because I've been working. What my question was, but in relation to inflammation and mood and
Yeah.
sources, and if you're utilizing it, can you get enough from food?
Okay.
Something in there.
Okay. And in the relationship with food. Yes.
And yeah.
Okay. A few things there. Okay. Yeah. Lisa.
Comparing the health benefits of different oils.
Uh-huh. As in essential oils or
No, like
dietary
olive oil,
oils?
dietary.
Okay. Are there specific ones you're curious about?
Safflower oil versus olive oil.
Okay.
And also like sprouting and fermentation drinks in terms of what one levels of things that one would need to take a probiotic
question being,
Is there a level that where you're taking in so much
yeah,
good healthy foods that you really don't need to
Okay.
take a probiotic?
okay.
How about a class on that?
Yeah, we could make that whole open forum. And some of these could be whole open forums, but I will allocate a little time to at least scratching the surface. What else? Yeah.
Being really, really sleepy,
Uh-huh.
but then having insomnia all night long, and then having a humming brain, you know. And so the insomnia is added, well, the humming in the brain adds to the insomnia, and you can't sleep. You're sleepy, you're tired, but you've got this constant hum like a transformer in your brain. And it's not like an ear ringing and, you know, the high-pitched ringing, it is a humming 24/7. I know what causes mine, but I don't know how to combat the insomnia, the sleepiness, and the humming, or how to pull it together so I can.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's probably a larger discussion, but like the sensation is actually humming that occurs
It's a vibration that occurs 24/7,
all the time.
all the time. And mine is probably as a result of a brain tumor that is up against an audio nerve, has been treated with radiation back in '09, but also with the idea that it's probably been in my brain for most of my life.
Uh-huh.
I might have been born with it.
So even without the lesion there, it completely resolved its residual.
The lesion is still there
It is.
even after the
Yeah.
radiation. So I have the humming all the time, and
Yeah.
nothing seems to put it to sleep so that I can sleep.
I see. Got it.
So I have sleepiness, insomnia, because of the humming.
Okay, I gotcha. Thank you. I'll come back to that. Other questions?
What about food allergies and what kind of testing you can do?
Yeah. Okay, good.
I have one more.
Yeah.
There's a testing that's done at your office or a kit for checking your acidity level
Mhm.
for your stomach, to see how
Mhm.
much is, I took that years ago,
Mhm.
but I forgot what it was called, and I need to do that again. What is
Mhm.
it?
Stomach acidity testing. Well, there's a lot of different ways that we can do it. So I'll write that. I'll come back to it and address the question. What else? Other questions from anyone? Any other topics we want to touch in on? Yeah.
Melatonin.
Melatonin? Okay, that'll be in the sleep piece, so we'll get into that for sure. Anything else? These are good questions.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I won't be able to dive too much because I don't want to miss on the sleep topic, which is, I'm guessing, why a lot of you are made it here. So we'll kind of knock through these one at a time and then take on the lecture from there. So restless legs can be a very difficult condition that people deal with, especially in relation to disrupting sleep. So it is a phenomenon where there is firing of the nerve fibers, or the muscle fibers in the legs, and it's causing a discomfort and inability to really relax completely in order to let the brain and body calm down enough to go to sleep. So it can be really disruptive for some individuals' sleep. The way that I approach restless legs, there's a few treatments I think about. First and foremost is hydration. Muscles will spasm and twitch when they're not well hydrated. So at the very first, we have to work on hydration. When I say hydration, it's not pound a giant glass of water before bedtime. It's drink water, ideally purified or distilled, high quality water consistently, slowly throughout the day. So you actually hydrate your cells versus the water just shunting into your kidneys when you drink 16 ounces all at once. That's really important and a very first step. So a baseline for adequate hydration is, I will typically recommend half your body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 200 pounds, that would be 100 ounces of water. That's pretty close to a gallon. Most of us don't drink enough water. We're not hydrated enough. Another major player in muscle fibers and how they fire or cramp up or become restless is the ion content of specific minerals. There are two particular minerals that are very important for relaxing and calming muscles. They're first and foremost magnesium and secondarily potassium. They both have their intracellular ions that tend to depolarize, or I should say repolarize nerves, meaning stop nerves from firing so frequently. And magnesium has a particular benefit of actually being able to relax those muscle fibers. Magnesium and potassium happen to be the pretty most deficient minerals in our diet. You get potassium from vegetables, and most Americans don't eat enough vegetables. We eat way too much sodium, which has the opposite effect. It hyperpolarizes the nerves. And about 95% of Americans are completely deficient in their dietary intake of magnesium. It's by far the highest deficiency in our population. So we really all could benefit from magnesium supplementation. And I found magnesium to be a very effective tool for restless legs. It can sometimes take a while to replenish those stores, but it is very effective over time. Another thing that I would say is exercise. We can actually kind of hypercharge our muscles when we don't move them, so it's pretty important to do that earlier in the day, and that can often really help with restless legs. Pathologically, one of the things that really comes up a lot with restless legs is anemia. So it's always a screen that I like to do with persistent restless legs to find out if the patient does not have enough iron or they're anemic, because that will be a huge trigger for restless legs. Always want to check for that. And then if there is iron deficiency or low ferritin, which is a more sensitive marker, then we'll work on ways to rebuild that depending on the cause of it. Another great way to get magnesium into the body, besides supplementing it, is to take Epsom salt baths. That will actually draw magnesium right into the tissues. So we can, put 3 or 4 cups of Epsom salts in a hot bath at nighttime and then get out, soak for 30 minutes and then go to bed. Could be helpful. So those are some just initial thoughts. We can dive more into it if we're really not getting success there, but that'd be a starting point. Okay. Of course, when the restless legs get treated and they're not restless anymore, then the sleep logically would improve. Autoimmune disease and leaky gut.
I thought you were asking for topics for other forums.
Oh, okay.
So that's a big one. I wouldn't expect
Okay.
you to touch
I
on.
would love to talk about autoimmune disease in relation to leaky gut. I think it's a fantastic topic. So maybe we could, unless someone's really needing to hear about that, maybe we could shelve that for a future one. I love treating autoimmune disease, and that link is huge, which you're not going to hear from most conventional providers. So yeah, that would be a great old topic if we can hold on it. Okay. Fibromyalgia, the question was in relation to sleep and fibromyalgia. Yeah. And the pain associated with the fibromyalgia being a sleep disruptor. Yeah. It's a little bit of a chicken and the egg thing, because the sleep adds to the pain, the sleep disturbance, but the pain itself also has other methods that it can be treated with. So again, this gut-brain and gut-muscle connection is pretty big with fibromyalgia. I think a lot about inflammation with fibromyalgia and what's generating an inflammatory response. And I'm usually looking to the digestive lining as the starting point because of this dramatic association between our immune system's intelligence and the gut lining. It's kind of about 80% of the immune system is associated with the digestive lining. And so if we're having inflammation being generated there, it's going to have widespread effects on other organs in the body. For some patients, that may manifest as fibromyalgia-like pain. That's one big concept within fibromyalgia, but there are a lot of other aspects to it. You know, certainly there can be a big stress component and a big emotional undertone to what creates that type of condition, and that's an important part to investigate. Sleep absolutely is important. Big nutrient deficiencies show up a lot with fibromyalgia, B vitamins particularly. So activated B vitamins are very important for a fibromyalgia patient. Magnesium is probably a great idea too. Vitamin D is a big one that shows up as a depletion. So we're kind of, again, on an individual basis, we want to look at that in order to know best how to treat the fibromyalgia pain, but those are initial thoughts. Body work can be a really great help too, depending on the type of practitioner you use. So I can't really completely answer your question just because it's such a personal question, personalized question, and I think the sleep issue is that if you can get a foothold on the pain, that it can help restore sleep. And some of the sleep aids we'll talk about may really help to override the fibro pain and be able to sleep more restfully. Yeah. Sleep apnea. This is kind of a part of the sleep lecture here. It's a little just aside during my lecture. It's actually a huge condition that almost in epidemic proportions that our society suffers from in this country. And it wasn't always that way. I think like much of the things we have, like diabetes and obesity and some of these other conditions, it's a result of our modern lifestyle in large part. There are two types of sleep apnea. There's called central and peripheral. And let me back up and just define that briefly. What sleep apnea really is when we are asleep, we stop breathing at various points in the night, and it could be as frequently as every 20 or 30 seconds. But literally, the individual will stop breathing, and they will wake up or not really wake up or kind of be in a half sleep. And this goes on throughout the entire night for many people. And it ends up not allowing people to move into the more restful cycles of sleep. It's kind of like they never have really slept, even though they don't actually mentally have an awareness of that. And so it's a pretty significant condition because, as we'll talk about with all the benefits of sleep and the needs of human beings to have sleep, when you have sleep apnea, it's kind of like you don't sleep. So it's a really big problem. And the vast majority of sleep apnea is called peripheral sleep apnea, meaning that it's not related to problems of the central nervous system. Central nervous system is the brain and the brain stem. So that's where all of our neurological centers are. And you can have abnormalities in the brain and brain stem that will cause you to stop breathing throughout the night. Those are much more complicated to treat, and they almost always require using a machine. They call them CPAPs, you're probably all familiar with those, where it basically injects oxygen through your mouth through a mask throughout the entire night. Much less common. And what is more common is this peripheral sleep apnea. And what that condition is basically